Rick Curdy, I want to keep in touch with all these guys here. Rick Curdy talking about baseball in Charlotte. Would you change your loyalties from the Braves or the Reds? I mean, it's more feasible to get, say, that weekend season ticket, that Sunday season ticket, if you're watching Major League Baseball in Charlotte than it is Atlanta or Cincinnati. Isn't batting eighth. But no, that's, something right there to look at. A couple of sports stories here that I wanted to get to. Who remembers Anthony Wright? This guy was A1. Now, I was talking about Devlin Hodges. Could he beat out Josh Dobbs for a spot on the Pittsburgh Steelers? And Jim Wexell said, you know what? Probably not, but there's always a chance. And, Hodges has beaten out others that we didn't think he was going to beat out. I still am trying to figure out how you could have more passing yards than Steve McNair in FCS football and not be, a guy who could even be a backup quarterback in the NFL. Still trying to figure that one out. But a guy who actually was beaten out for a roster spot on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who made the Pittsburgh Steelers as a free agent, as I recall, and he was beaten out by a Tennessee quarterback, was Anthony Wright. And I think anybody from a previous generation, anyone who followed the Tennessee Volunteers when they won a national title in 1998, doesn't need to wonder, why did T. Martin beat out Anthony Wright for a spot in the NFL? Or on the Steelers, as the case may have been. It just happened to be the team that he played for. And I know. Marky, you're talking about Pittsburgh again. No, we're talking about how it relates to here. And let's say T. Martin is a legendary local sports figure, and he's contemporary. He's on the Tennessee assistant coaching staff, so let's talk about this. Martin beat out Anthony Wright, late of the University of South Carolina, for a spot on the Steelers a generation ago, 20 years ago. I could never figure out why Anthony Wright was thought of to be talented. I mean, the South Carolina Gamecocks, before Lou Holtz got there, really, under Joe Morrison they had some success, but they were basically known for being mediocre. They were not known for being, however, bad. Under Anthony Wright, they were bad. Probably had a lot to do with Brad Scott coaching them, but they were bad. They went from when Brad Scott first took over the team, having enough players on there, Steve Tannehill and ever, to win the program's first ever bowl game. It's hard to believe it took that long. There weren't that many bowl games in those days, but they won their first bowl game. Okay. 94. Been playing since the 19th century. Yeah. South Carolina actually created the Gator Bowl. That's another story entirely, along with Wake Forest. But they couldn't win it. So, there you go. But here comes Anthony Wright, and the team rather quickly goes... Used to say that T. Martin wasn't accurate enough. He threw 20 straight completions against Anthony Wright in the Gamecocks. Admittedly, Wright wasn't playing defensive back, but still, you were like, wait a minute, we know who the better quarterback is. One beats the other every time he plays them. One wins the national championship while the other goes 1-10. How does Martin not beat out Wright for the Pittsburgh Steelers? And so he did. Of course, the question then was, how come the Pittsburgh Steelers took T. Martin ahead of Tom Brady? But that's another story entirely. Okay. So Anthony Wright then becomes a journeyman, and he gets picked up by the Cowboys, and they don't have a good quarterback, and he starts a few games with them, and they say, you're not as good as T. Martin, and you're starting for us, and he's backing up on the Raiders. And so then he comes to or maybe it was the Steelers at the time, I really can't remember which one. And then he goes to the Baltimore Ravens and actually helps them win a division title in 2003, but it was it was like, well, we're 9-7 and bounced in the first round of the playoffs, and really, we've got you because we made a mistake thinking that Elvis Grbac was going to be any good, and that's when they brought in Joe Flacco, and the rest is history, or about those times. But anyway, so I never quite understood why people thought Anthony Wright was really that good, but I always thought he had a right to live. His girlfriend's ex-boyfriend, unfortunately, shot him, and he's in some bad shape. It is alleged that William Moses Hooker Jr. is the shooter. A warrant has been issued on charges of assault with a deadly weapon, inflicting serious injury with intent to kill. This occurred in North Carolina. Wright played 9 years in the NFL, and boy, that was a long time for him in the NFL. He also, I guess, was the Bengals and the Giants as a backup quarterback. 605 passes in the NFL. But the man is severely injured now in a domestic dispute. There you go. And another domestic dispute, but one that I really did think was overblown, was the thing with Ezekiel Elliott in Las Vegas, because evidently he got the cuffs slapped on him, but he wasn't arrested. You heard Jim Wexell kind of defending Ben Roethlisberger. If you read that police report, Elliott wasn't arrested in a Las Vegas incident. Now, there was some, what were you doing right there, and how did you get cuffs slapped on you? Now, sometimes that can happen. Let's say you're jawing with somebody. Okay, take you out of the situation. Here, what happened? And you put the cuffs on so to cool everybody down, just in case the officers don't get assaulted. Wait a minute. No, you're not the suspect. You get the cuffs taken off. I don't think that should be the cause for a suspension. But Elliott has met with Roger Goodell. He's tweeted out that he'll be a good boy. And there you go. So, will Elliott be disciplined by the NFL? Knows no word as of yesterday. I honestly don't think that he should be. I really don't. I'm not sure he did anything wrong. And even if, I'm theorizing, you get into an argument, that's not a reason for a suspension. You're not arrested, you're not, you might be in a situation where there's a rowdiness going on. That's not reason to suspend something. That could happen to just about anybody. I want people to understand that. I know Elliott's track record isn't all that good, but based on what I know, I can't merit a suspension for Ezekiel Elliott. I really can't. I'm Marky Billson, Tri-City Sports Now. Hey, We're talking a little bit about the trickle-down effect of Connecticut, who, by the way, is going on probation, to the Big East Conference. And where does that leave the American? Could James Madison join the American? I'll talk to you about it when we come back. Our final segment, Tri-City Sports Now.